All right, so understanding modules. So once we start developing complex Node.js applications, we'll be dividing up our code into various different files based on the functionality. For example, let's say we want to perform arithmetic operations, arithmetic functions, then we can separate all of our arithmetic operations in a single file and then use them throughout the application, or even share amongst different Node.js applications that we're building. This file will with a fixed functionality can be a module. So modularization is important as the application grows complex. We need modules that will handle only specific part of the application. For example, database operations can be handled by the separate module, or the arithmetic operations we talked about earlier can be a part of utilities module or service module. With modularization, there needs to have a way of organizing your code within the application. Now, there is no concrete way of organizing your code. However, I'd like to structure the code based on functionality. For example, if you're building a RESTful application, I'll have the routes directory, which will have the modules that handle all my routes, or a services directory, which will have service modules, and so on. We'll utilize this structure when we work on our projects later in this course. But let's talk about sharing modules first. Now, what good is creating modules if we are not going to use them later? There's no point in creating isolated modules, right? In order to use this again in the code, we'll be using require exports and module.exports. So say we write the module that handles all the arithmetic operations, then we need to make that module public and export it. And module.exports is a great way of exporting its functionality. So let's move back here and let's write a single arithmetic operation of addition. So for it, let's create a new file called, let's say, addition.js. Okay, so in here I'm just going to create a function for addition of two numbers. So I'll say const add numbers, and I'm going to use the ES6 way, and I'm just going to return the addition. So let's say I have two numbers, 1 plus 3. All right, I'm just going to return this. That's it. So this is just one function. So if I have to export this functionality, what I can do is I can say exports.add numbers and export this as a name. So let me say add numbers. All right, so now in our main file, we have to import this module by using the require keyword. Okay, so let me go here and let me make some space. And in here, I'm going to create, first of all, a variable to store this. So I'll say add, and I'll say require. And here, I will pass in the path of this addition. Okay, so if you notice, Visual Studio Code automatically gave us the file name. So I'm just going to select it, and I'm going to save it. All right. So now let's log this out. Let's log this, the result of this. Okay. So I will say console.log. Use backticks. I'll say result. And in here, I'm going to call in the add numbers method from this module, the add module. So I'm going to use this variable that we have declared to store the addition. So I'll say add numbers. All right, and since it's a function, I'll just use the parentheses, put a semicolon, and save it. Now let's run this application and see. The result should be 4. Okay, so since we have 1 plus 3, the result should be 4. Let's quickly test this out. So let me clear this again and make some space here so that you guys can see. So I'll say, oops, not here, over here. Okay, node index.js. All right, so it says result is 4. Okay, so we just got the arithmetic operation functionality from the addition module. Okay, and we also have the previous console.log. So good. Now let's move on to using some of the modules that Node.js provides us. All right. So the FS and path modules. So FS stands for file system. So one of the modules that is provided within the Node.js runtime is the file system and the path module. So the FS module provides functionality to access and manipulate the file system. The path module provides a lot of very useful functionality to access and interact with the file system. So let's actually understand this through code. So let me move back here, and I'm going to create a new project here. Okay. So I'm just going to close this out. And let's first talk about. I'm going to be using this project only, so I'm not going to create a new project. So let's create a new file called, let's say, fs.js. All right, so I'm just going to declare a variable, and I'm going to require fs. Okay, if you notice this, it did not give me an error, and I did not have to install this module. The reason is that this is one of the core modules that Node.js provides. Okay, so I'm going to read a file. So let's read one of these files that we have already created. So it provides us with a read file method. It's say asynchronous method. So I'm just going to say read file. So if you notice, it automatically pops up. And the file I'm going to read is, let's say, index.js. The format, we have to provide a file format. Okay, so if you look at here, it says path, that is string, and format as well as a callback function. Okay, so I'm just going to say utf-8. And have a callback function. So if there's an error, we throw an error. If we find data, then we show the data. Okay, so let me first handle the error. So if error, then throw error. So don't worry about the error handling at the moment. We'll be covering that in the later part of this session itself. Just focus on the data. So let me save this. Now let me run this. So I'll just say node and the file name. So I created a new file. So I'll just say fs.js. And if I save this, okay, let me clear this out and make some space more. So say node fs.js. Okay. So what it did was it read our index.js file, since we have added it as the path of the file, and it printed out the data that it read from it. So that's the file. It's perfect. Now let's talk about path.js. Okay, so for example, let me create a new file here real quick. I'm going to call this path.js. Okay, and I'm going to be using the path module. So I'll just say var path equals require path. Again, I did not have to install this module or write code for it. It is one of the core modules that Node.js provides. And now let's figure out the file name. Okay, so let's say file name path.base name. So this is one of the methods that is provided with the path object, and we will use one of these files. So let's say index.js again. Let's use index.js. All right, and let me log this out. Save this. Clear this. Make some space, and let me run this. What was the name of the file again? It was path.js. So I'll just say path.js, and it gave me the file name. So perfect. That's it. That's how we can use path. All right, so moving on.